Thank you very much, Lyle. Actually, we've sprung a slight surprise on Lyle because I'm joined in this presentation I'm very delighted to be joined by Carsten Auer from Architects, who's the project director for the design team for the new Central Library in Christchurch. And the reason we're doing this together, and I promise you we will be quick, is because we were delighted yesterday Council approved the concept design for the new library. You may have seen it in the press today or on stuff, and we thought that what a great opportunity as we're here this morning to be able to share with you engaging the people, the feedback from the community, how that can actually inform the design, for you to see some images of that and actually hear a little bit more about how that translates through. So because of the brevity of time, I'm not going to talk about the background of the project at this stage, but really focus on the community engagement aspect. That's what I'm going to talk to you about, and then I'll hand over to Carsten. I want to thank you to David for really explaining a little bit. I think I would echo everything that you said about why it's important to engage with the community. That buy-in and that involvement is so critical. We've known in libraries in Christchurch that is always important, because our libraries are successful when they are belonged to the community, when people feel the ownership. So, and never more so, obviously, than in post-earthquake Christchurch as we're recovering. Okay, so, and I'll just move on. So, really, what did we do in Christchurch? This was about a year ago, actually, and the council said to us, we had appointed our consultants, including our architects team, and we were launching into doing our consultation and starting the planning that would inform the concept design. What the Mayor and the Council has said to us is, yep, that's great, but hey, what we think you need to do first is really connect with the wider Christchurch community. Before anybody picks up a pencil, we really want a bit like the Share an Idea campaign, we want some really extensive upfront public consultation. And you need to do it fast, and of course you can't really spend any money on doing it. So we had a few challenges from the get-go, but we had a really good team working with our colleagues across council to come up with a campaign. You'll see on the slide that we are looking somewhere in between. We use the IAP2 methodology, for those of you who are familiar with that. If not, think about it as somewhere between consult and involve. So we weren't just informing people, we weren't doing a complete collaboration, but we were saying, actually, we really, really want your feedback. It is going to matter. It is going to be important to inform the design, and we needed to have a very effective and simple to understand way of actually achieving that. And you can see the engagement principles there. So it needed to be fun, jargon-free, accessible, and appealing to all. We wanted people to quickly respond and tell us what they thought. Okay, so the methods, I'm just having to keep my glasses on and off here. We did a real mixture of face-to-face and online interaction. We actually had a piece of software that we knew had been used in Australia called Bang the Table, which was adapted to actually provide an interactive website. So that was a really, really important part of the campaign. But we also knew that we really needed to have a lot of drop-in and face-to-face sessions. And we used our libraries, we used community events, we used a whole variety of places to actually have those drop-in sessions for people to come and talk with members of the project team about what they thought was important in their library. But equally, we had a great result with using our website. We called the campaign Your Library, Your Voice. And we also used the social media, because social media is such an effective way of reaching people, through our own, the council websites and the library websites. Facebook was very important, Twitter was very important. We really wanted people to be able to, we wanted to do quick polls and ask people questions and elicit their reactions in a very quick and easy way, as I said. Okay, I'll just go past that. A bit of newspaper coverage. This was last year too. I've glossed over important details, like the launch by the Mayor was in March last year, and we ran the campaign for about 6 weeks. And really, these were the key areas that the themes that came through. What was incredibly important to people was that the new library would be welcoming. It would clearly be a place for learning, dynamic learning and discovery. We would have fusion of spaces. We would have very flexible multi-purpose spaces. and we would have all the technology that we needed, all the books that we needed, and be able to be used for just about any purpose. No small brief, obviously, but that's how we kind of summarised the themes. And my last slide is just going to show you here. So I think the comment was made too, people want different things and we need to be able to accommodate that. We know that with our library planning for our community libraries. So people wanted vibrant, noisy, interactive, social spaces. They see libraries today as being community hubs and I think as the Waimakariri example, places where you've got different services and different functions going on. We know we provide that in many of our city libraries too, and we know that that is very successful and will draw people in. And they will stay and use the library and the services and the council services they will use a wide variety of services. But people also want quiet. They want contemplation. They want places where they can retreat and be tranquil. The ubiquitous technology, as I said before, very open plan. Light and airy, welcoming and safe. So Stephen's comment before about safe, that came through absolutely understandably as, of course, we would build a very robust, resilient building, but that feeling from the public of safety is very important. The places to relax, as I said, learning, multicultural diversity is very important. The cafe, everyone wants a cafe in libraries these days, and the community hub and the parking, so the comments that people have made about parking. Accessibility we know is absolutely critical to the success, particularly if we're wanting to draw people back into the city. I think there's a few comments on the right there about possibly some things we hadn't expected. I think probably we had really, but making the sustainability is very important, and aspect having a green aspect or a strong connection to the outdoors. I think I'm going to pause there now and to hand over to Karsten, who will take you through how did this feedback, we got 2,400 responses, that was the critical bit to tell you, how that actually translated into the design. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. Look, I'll be quite quick, and obviously in a couple of minutes quite hard to explain all the drivers that help to inform the design of the library, but I'll focus on one in particular, and that was the notion of identity and what would make this building relevant to Christchurch. And that's always a very hard one to answer as a design team. The building, as many of you would know, is on the northern edge of the square, bound by Gloucester Street to the north. And when looking at how to incorporate the local, one of the key things that we did was we engaged very heavily and had very good discussions with Ngāi Tahu and Ngāi Tuariri. I'll just explain two aspects of how we look to integrate that. The first being those discussions and that dialogue that we entered into. And together with them, we established, I guess, both values as well as cultural associations that were very important. And one of the ways that we developed of how these could inform the physical nature of the building was taking, in this case, points of physical reference that were very important. We see going all the way out to the west to Aoraki, down to the south, the Banks Peninsula. We have Mount Grey to the north, and even places like Hawaii, which we looked to see of how we might be able to integrate these and help inform the design. And what we came up with is that we then overlaid these view lines onto the site and helped them to create openings and help us to articulate the building envelope, where we could create both physical references, so these are terraces that we've included in the design that face, in this case, south towards the Banks Peninsula, that create very strong physical references to those points, as well as more implied, because obviously you won't be able to see all the way to Hawaii when looking north, but still we felt it was very important to have these ideas be a key aspect of the design that really underpin the physical extent of the building. And we also have a central atrium that we will look to develop further with regard to cultural associations and the opportunity for artwork. And I'll just take you quickly through some of the interior shots that you might not have seen released yet. But this is an image at the ground level looking up into the main atrium of the building. And to your right, we've got Cathedral Square. To our left would be Gloucester Street. And as Carolyn's pointed out, some of the feedback that we had from the public in particular was this notion about it being a welcoming place, a low threshold, inviting people into the building. So this is what we've looked to create, I guess, a journey, a building that takes you on a journey through the building and the experience of acquiring knowledge and coming together as a community. I'll go through these quite quickly. We'll just walk our way up through the atrium a little bit. We're now arriving on the first level, and some of the relationships to direct light from above we felt are very important for the qualities of within the buildings. You can see some of the materiality that we're looking to explore to create that environment. And Carolyn talked very much about the different types of spaces, and those are reflected in the scales of the buildings. We have quite tall spaces, which can be noisy, and where a lot of social interaction can occur. And as you go to some of the upper levels, the characteristic and the nature of the building becomes a lot more intimate, and you have some of those quiet and more reflective or type of spaces for reflection. One of the key things that came out as well was that desire for internal and external spaces. And we managed to combine those with those incisions and those references that I was looking to outline before. So you have here an image of one of those terraces, and the view out to the Port Hills beyond. And that's really the second cue that we took, in the sense of, I can see, I've got 1 minute, I'll flick through these really quickly, was essentially the landscape, which we think is something that's really important to Canterbury and to the Christchurch. And some of the references we took from that were the colours, the play of light, and the folded surfaces. And combined with some of the references to harakiki, which was native to the area before, we've looked to develop the facade of the building to reflect those, I guess, those emotive qualities, and hopefully make the building that in a subtle way will be something that people can associate with. And I'll just stop on a nighttime view for you right here, and made at this stage just hand over to the next speaker.